Welcome back to the WeekNGeek, your weekly comics preview for April 6th. I'm Mike Ortiz.
And I am the Chris Brown.
So what do you got this week?
Well, my top pick this week is Fear Itself. Fear Itself #1 came out this week. We had the prologue a few weeks ago with the story of sin and kind of leading up to. So I'm not going to lie, it made this first issue a little disappointing. It's almost like a prologue rather than an issue 1. It's all set up. And I don't want to spoil anybody's fun, but it's basically just for one thing to happen, and then issue 2 is going to be the beginning of your story. A little disappointing. I was, maybe I wanted more, I don't know, and I'm still thinking this is going to be a fun story, and I like the idea of putting sin, as the next Red Skull, but it didn't get it done for me. And I'm just going to tack on along with it. Fear Itself, the home front also came in. It looks like it's about 4 different short stories, but it is not Frontline. It's not the Ben Urich story. It's something totally different. I thought home front, siege embedded,
It would make
home
sense.
front.
They've done that for every event.
And they don't seem to be doing it for this one, because this is not it.
Sorry, Ben Urich. You're stuck in Ultimate Spider-Man with better hair.
So what's your #1 this week?
My #1 is a strange one. It's one that, as far as I know, I'm the only person who reads it.
You're the only person who buys it from me.
It's Glamour Puss by Dave Sim from Aardvark Vanheim. This is not even entirely a comic book. I was a big fan of Cerebus. I collected it all the way up to the end. Dave Sim may have gone a little crazy, maybe a misogynist. I don't know. I don't really know the man. But it's probably true because I've read stuff that he said. But Glamour Puss is 2 things. One, it's a kind of a story about a model, and I don't read any of that. But it's also a history of the photorealist movement in the comic strips with Stan Drake and Hal Foster. And from a historical standpoint, it's an amazing document. I hope when all this is done, he collects it all because it actually is very, very informative. I've learned more about comic strips and about photorealistic art than anything that I've ever studied before, and it comes out every other month. So for that alone, if you're a fan of comic book history, if you liked action philosophers or the comic book comics, anything about the history of comics done in a comic format with absolutely phenomenal art, give Glamour Puss a try. If you're not, probably stay away from it because the man's a little crazy.
He's a little crazy. That first issue, like I said, seemed a little self-aggrandizing, but it was genius.
Yeah.
But I didn't know quite what I thought about it.
Yeah, it's weird stuff, but if it's in your wheelhouse, you'll love it. If it's not,
yeah, you probably shouldn't even bother with it.
Yeah.
So, all right, next up here, I got Heroes for Hire #5. I like this book. I really, really think this book is fun. This issue 5 wraps up the first story arc with the Puppet Master, sinking his claws into Misty Knight here and running something.
You kind of convinced me to pick that up, and it's been really good.
I think I've convinced a few people to pick it up. It surprised me. I only read the first issue because I thought, well, it's Misty Knight. I like Misty Knight. I really like Misty Knight quite a bit. Let's give it a whirl. And that opening for what we were talking about at Zod Complex, because Chad and I were both saying, hello, hero, you for hire tonight? Totally seemed like Warriors.
Yep.
Next, I've got the Amazing Spider-Man Annual. Doesn't have anything to do with what's going on in the rest of Spider-Man. And it appears it's going to continue in the Hulk and Deadpool annuals, which I don't even know that I'm going to read those. But I'm curious about this because it is written by John Layman, who does Chew. So John Layman doing Spider-Man kind of sounds interesting. Next up, I've got House of Mystery, which I've really been enjoying. This is the first issue of a new story arc. Has been quite a fun book. It's getting a little weirder than it started out as, but I still like it. It's got an interesting horror element. It's also got a kind of an anthology element in that all the characters, are telling stories to pay for their drinks and such. Now this one, this is a riot. I really enjoy this quite a bit. We got Axe Cop, Bad Guy Earth. Written by a 6-year-old and drawn by his 30-year-old brother. Absolutely fantastic. It's so ridiculous. I was having a conversation with, I'll tell you what, don't read it first. If you read it first and then try to read other things, everything's going to read like it was written by a 5-year-old. Just totally ridiculous. But I was telling Matt G about this, and he said, oh my God, how have I never heard of Axe Cop before? And he read some of the online stuff. He's like, oh my God, it's genius. He says, I don't know how anyone's never done this before. He says, it's like I was hanging out with my younger cousin recently, and we were playing ninjas. Well, we didn't do anything. We were just going around collecting snacks for the big fight. Then I've got Sweet Tooth, which, as we've established, great book, very, very interesting stuff. It's just sort of a somber post-apocalyptic story done differently than anyone else has ever done it. You know, Walking Dead does it with zombies. This does it with children who are like animals, and one of whom with antlers and no belly button, maybe some sort of a messiah. Okay, all right, I'm in. Kind of interesting. That's what I've got. I got one other thing, but I'll leave that toward the end.
My next one up is Brightest Day number 23. Because this is bi-weekly, I've mentioned this several times. I did get a chance to look through this a little bit, and it looks like here, one issue from the end, 23 issues later, which would be basically a year later, finally some shit happens.
I think this thing could have been a 6-issue mini.
We have to bleep the shit, don't we?
No, we're good. Keep moving.
I'm not going to spoil anything in here because let's just say someone who has been long absent from the DC universe makes his return, and it's already been spoiled online, but I'm not going to spoil it any further. Great artwork by Ivan Reis, Jeff Johns. When Jeff Johns gets to the heart of a story, when he gets to his conclusion, that's where he either just totally drops it or he just kicks a lot of ass, and it looks like he's finally stepped it up here. Next up is the Annihilators. I'm a big fan of Marvel's Cosmic. I started on this journey back with the Annihilation miniseries, and it's stumbled along the way, but now we're putting together some of Marvel's biggest cosmic heavy hitters. The first issue was pretty solid. It made a really interesting point about how difficult it is for a team of guys who are just colossally powerful because they're all a little too afraid they're going to destroy the universe. But it's good stuff so far. Abnett Landing have not let me down yet, and I love me some Rocket Raccoon and Groot.
Yeah, everybody loves Rocket Raccoon.
Next up is Irredeemable. I can't believe this is issue 24, 2 years or so.
Yeah.
Mark Waid has really kind of redefined what it means to be Superman in a book that's not Superman or published by DC Comics. But so far, so good. It's been a great book. When you think you've got it figured out, it does something that you're not quite expecting. Out of all the stuff that Wade's writing now, I think it is his best. I think possibly his best work since Kingdom Come, and that's saying a lot. So give it a shot. It's great stuff. Even though I thought Mark Waid was just a little heavy-handed to that guy at MegaCon who's ripping off everybody's artwork.
Everybody's talking about...
Chill out, Mark, a little bit.
But he wasn't the only one. Ethan Van Sciver was with him.
Yeah, but Ethan Van Sciver, he's kind of a Nazi.
Sorry, you know what? If somebody is stealing other people's artwork and saying that it's theirs, and then using a man who has recently passed away as a device to make more money, I understand people yelling at that guy.
Oh, I can too, but we don't need you to be a. There's people in that convention screwing people over and ripping them off left and right, singling out one guy. Yeah, the guy's an asshole, but
the best way is just to stop talking about him.
Yeah, which we didn't do. Anyway, next up is Chew. We've heaped tons of love on this book.
Yes.
I don't think we need to say much more. Everybody who digs this book or would dig this book probably knows about it. But this one is continuing a great storyline. It's definitely going into the sci-fi territory a little, which I think is interesting. Not where I was expecting it to go. And this is on the heels of the announcement that it's going to be a Showtime TV series.
Which I don't think is going to work.
Really? I actually subscribed to Showtime recently. That was not the only reason, but that was kind of the thing to put over the top.
Cartoon cannibalism as drawn by Rob Guillory works. Real life cannibalism on a Showtime show, I don't see how it's going to work.
I'll give it a shot either way.
Oh, I will too.
It'll be better than Wonder Woman.
I'm not hating on cannibals. I'm just saying.
Next up is Herc by Greg Pak and Fred Van Lente. I was picking this up when he took over the Hulk title. I didn't really think much of it, but it actually turned out to be a really solid book.
It was fun.
I was very surprised. So when that came to an end and they decided to, restart with a new number one, I figured I'd give it a shot. These guys haven't let me down. I can't believe I've been reading a Hercules book for over a year, but I have.
And the book is actually fun. I read it. I liked it. He doesn't really have his powers anymore. They did a little reboot on him. It's good. I like where it's going, and I think the artwork's awesome.
It's light. It's entertaining. It's a lot of fun. Next up is Uncanny X-Men 534.1. I haven't really bought the Uncanny X-Men in a while. I decided to pick this up for two reasons. One, so far the Marvel point ones that I've read have been pretty solid. They may not be the great jumping on points that people were expecting, but they're pretty good, done in one issues that sort of sum things up. And not that I need any summing up with the X-Men, but this one's drawn by Carlos Pacheco, and he's one of my favorite artists. I don't think there's a mainstream book that he's drawn that I don't own. So you want me to buy X-Men, put Carlos Pacheco on it. You want me to buy Deadpool, put Carlos Pacheco on it. You want me to buy a comic book I don't want to buy, put Carlos Pacheco on it, and I'm down.
I'd read Deadpool if Jonathan Hickman was writing it.
Jonathan Hickman and Carlos Pacheco on a book, I would read a Sarah Palin book. Lastly, I've got Green Wake. I know nothing about this book. It's an Image #1. It's a creator-owned book. There's been a lot of heat on some of these Image books lately. This one's Curtis Wiebe, I don't know how to pronounce it.
I'm going to say Wiebe because it's spelled the same way, I believe, as Steve Wiebe, the guy who was the Donkey Kong contender. So.
Oh, okay. And Riley Rossmo from Proof and Cowboy Ninja Viking, fantastic artist.
Yeah, I really
like I said, I know
a lot.
nothing about this. I read the preview, or I read the synopsis. I don't remember what I read, but I know the artwork looks good. It's an Image. It's a new series. I don't know if it's limited or ongoing. I don't care. So far, these have been pretty solid, and I'm giving it a shot.
I liked it. I thought it was good. It's got kind of a Wrist Cutters a love story feel to it, where otherworldly kind of thing going on, a little mystery. It's good though. I kind of liked it. It's got the heat because everyone's talking about the fact that a lot of these Image books have low print runs.
Right.
Well, because a lot of it's unproven. We don't know what's going on in retailers, and it's kind of funny. This is almost a standard number. If retailers going, looks interesting, I don't know if I can sell it. 3 is the magic number.
Yep.
And that's how it goes. I mean, that's pretty much how many I had. I mean, with a book like Chew, that looked really interesting to me. I had 10 of issue #1, and now I wish I had 1,000.
And to Image's credit, a lot of this stuff gets a lot of heat because people think they're going to be worth a lot of money, but it gets noticed. And if they're good books, people go buy the second printings, they buy the trade paperbacks, and in the end, if you're looking for a good story, that's really all you need. It'd be nicer if people could jump on them from the beginning, but Image has figured out, have that second printing ready to go. So if you can't find this, there'll be a second printing soon.
In their trade paperbacks, they're great about those at $9.99 for the first trade. So always fantastic.
So give it a shot.
Guess that brings me to my last book. I'd like to bring everyone's attention to My Boyfriend is a Monster, done by Graphic Universe. It's written by Paul Story and illustrated by Eldon Cowger. This is actually done by a friend of Comics and More, and a friend of Geek Fights, sometime participant of Geek Fights, Paul Story. And he is going to be here at Comics and More today, the 6th, from 1 until 8, signing copies of My Boyfriend is a Monster. The idea is sort of, Graphic Universe wanted to get their shot at the Twilight money, and, let's do monsters and girls. And Paul had a story about a girl and a Frankenstein monster ready to go, and there they went. So it is volume 2. It's not really sequential. It's not like you need a volume 1. It's a standalone
first one's
story.
A different story entirely.
Correct. This one is My Boyfriend is a Monster is the main title. Made for Each Other is the name of the book.
Paul's a great writer and a great guy, so check it out.
And come on into Comics and More between 1 and 8 p.m. That's Comics and More at 28059 John R. Road, Madison Heights, Michigan. And with that, I believe that is your Week in Geek.